The title of this particular talk is a convergence of 4 biblical signs. Everything that you're going to see, I've got biblical backing. Now we come to the 4th sign. Now this sign may very well be the most important sign of all. It may actually tell us where we are on God's prophetic timetable. Now, please know this. I'm not here to set dates. But Jesus chastised the religious leaders in his day for not knowing the day and hour they were living in. Here are the words of Jesus. Matthew 16. Then the Pharisees and Sadducees came and testing him asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said to them, when it is evening you say it will be fair weather for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be foul weather today for the sky is red and threatening. Hypocrites! You know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. Well, the 4th sign is Israel. And Israel will soon be 70 years old. And you might be wondering, well, what does 70 years have to do with it? We'll get to that. Matthew 24, verse 32. Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things, you know that it is near at the doors. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. Well, the first question we need to answer is this: what length of time is a biblical generation? We get that answer in Psalm 90, verse 10. The days of our lives are 70 years, and if by reason of strength they are 80 years. Yet their boast is only labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. So Israel is about to turn 70. In fact, in 2018, she will turn 70. So the next question we need to answer is this one. Well, what kind of things is Jesus talking about? He says, when you see all these things happening, it's knocking at the door. This is Matthew 24, but the preceding verses, I'm just going to read the bold. Because the disciples have asked, what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus said, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in various places. They will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you, and you'll be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another, and many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who is on the housetop not go down to take anything out of his house. And let him who is in the field not go back to get his clothes. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. And pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. He goes on to say, for then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. Verse 23, you're going to hear of false Christs and false prophets. These are going to arise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Jesus says, see, I've told you beforehand. In other words, he wants us to know. Therefore, if they say to you, look, he's in the desert, do not go out. Or look, he's in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For wherever the carcass is, there the vultures will be gathered. Okay, so Jesus was telling his disciples that everything he had just described would come to pass, not in their generation, but in the generation about whom he was speaking. Well, now, what generation could that be? Let's go back to Matthew 24. Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near at the doors. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. Well, now we understand what Jesus is talking about in the natural physical realm, when the fig trees start to bloom and blossom, summer is getting near. However, there was more. More I was not aware of until recently. Are you all aware that Israel is known as the fig tree nation? You are now. Israel is the fig tree nation. Is Jesus telling us a parable about Israel in this particular verse? Is he telling us a parable about Israel rather than fig trees? If he is, just look at what he's saying. He says, when its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. Now, most trees, they do have a period of dormancy, a season, winter and so forth. But as winter starts to turn into spring, we begin to see signs of life in them. Now, historically, we know that when Jesus was answering the question the disciples have asked him about, what are the signs of your coming? Jerusalem and God's people, they were headed into winter. Not spring, not summer, a winter that was going to last nearly 2,000 years. But in May 1948, in one day, Israel became a nation. And God's prophetic time clock began to tick for this present generation. So based upon what we've learned so far, our present generation is a very likely candidate for the generation Jesus was referring to. Now, if Jesus is referring to our present generation, what would this mean for us? Well, let's go back to Matthew 24. There's a lot packed in Matthew 24, these few verses. Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near at the doors. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation, draw a line from fig tree down to this generation. Connect the dots. This generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. What are the things Jesus is talking about? Well, everything that came in the verses before that. All that war and rumors of war and times of tribulation and persecution and all that sort of stuff. Well, now all these verses that came before this Matthew 24, verse 32 and following, all of the stuff that we read earlier can be summarized with one word: shakings. Lots of shakings. Now, if Jesus is referring to our present generation in this passage, then there is a very good possibility that soon we will be seeing and experiencing a lot more trouble throughout the earth. Terrible trouble. And guess what? It has nothing to do with global warming. Now, with the convergence of the other three biblical signs, the Revelation 12 sign, the lunar and solar eclipses, and the Shemitah, it really may be a good time to consider all of these things and how we might prepare for what may be coming our way very, very soon. Is there something that we might want to be doing, how we might want to educate and prepare people for the trouble that may be coming? The fourth sign is Israel. Now, you might be wondering, is there anything more? Gee, guess what? There is much more information that I could have added to this, but this was enough. It would have been too much.